The planet Arvin was quiet. Too quiet for anyone who had grown used to the constant hum of human cities. Black stone stretched in every direction, jagged cliffs cutting the sky like broken glass. The wind blew across the barren landscape, carrying with it a faint metallic smell that reminded Dr. Myra Solon of old laboratories back on Earth. She adjusted her helmet and stepped carefully over the uneven terrain. Each footfall sent small clouds of dust rising, sparkling briefly in the light of the distant sun. Myra had been on Arvin for nearly 6 months. The outpost was small, only a cluster of domes and solar panels with a few storage units, and a lab. Commander Nico Rule ran the station, a man of few words and steady hands. He trusted Myra more than most, even if he often thought her curiosity could get them into trouble. Today, that curiosity would lead her to something extraordinary. She crouched beside a section of stone that looked different from the rest. The black rocks on Arvin were mostly dull, cracked by centuries of wind and heat. But this area shimmered faintly. The edges of the stone seemed almost smooth, like they had been polished by water long ago. Myra reached out and touched one. The surface was cold, but it felt alive, almost humming beneath her fingertips. The sensors in her gloves recorded the energy spikes immediately. Myra frowned. "This is not normal," she whispered to herself. She ran her scanner across the stone. Numbers appeared on her device in rapid succession, readings she had never seen before. The energy patterns were complex and irregular, almost like a heartbeat. She tapped a message to Nico. He arrived within minutes, his boots crunching on the rock. "What did you find?" he asked, his eyes scanning the strange formation. "I'm not sure," Myra admitted. "It's not like the rest of the stone. It responds. The scanner shows energy pulses. I think it might even be alive in some way." Nico knelt beside her, his brow furrowed. "Alive? It's just rock. You know that?" "I know it sounds impossible," Myra said, her voice steady despite her excitement. "But look at the readings. The pulses are regular, almost like a pattern. Maybe it's recording something, or storing energy. I need more time to study it." Nico considered her words for a moment. He was practical, but he had seen enough strange things in his career to know not to dismiss them too quickly. "Fine. Set up your equipment. But stay within the perimeter. I don't want any surprises." Myra nodded and moved back to the outpost. She returned with her portable lab kit, placing sensors and small cameras around the stone. The sun began to lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the black ground. Myra watched as the stones glowed faintly in the evening light. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to make her heart race. Hours passed. The outpost's lights hummed softly, and the air inside the dome smelled faintly of metal and recycled oxygen. Myra analyzed the data she had collected. The energy readings were unlike anything she had seen before. There were tiny fluctuations, small bursts of light that seemed almost like pulses. When she focused, she thought she could see shapes forming within the stone, vague outlines that shifted and moved. "Commander," Myra called over the communicator. "You need to see this." Nico entered the lab, leaning over her workstation. The screen displayed the energy readings and a visual representation of the pulses. They formed patterns, almost like a language. Myra pointed to the screen. "I don't know what it means yet, but it looks intentional. Someone, or something, made this." Nico's eyes narrowed. "Intentional? On a rock?" "Yes," Myra said firmly. "I think the stone is trying to communicate. Maybe not in words, but in feelings or memories. I can feel something when I touch it, Commander. It's like a wave of sorrow, maybe. It's hard to explain." Nico took a deep breath and sat down. "All right, Myra. Keep studying it. But be careful. We don't know what this is capable of. That night, Myra stayed by the stone. She could not sleep, not with the strange hum of energy in her ears. She touched the stone again, and this time the wave of emotion was stronger. Faces appeared in her mind, humans she had never met, looking scared and lost. Their eyes seemed to plead for something, though she could not understand what. Myra felt a lump in her throat. These were not just images. They were memories. The stone had recorded them somehow. Morning came, and the light revealed more than she had seen before. Cracks in the stone glowed faintly, like veins of light running beneath the surface. Myra realized that the pulses were growing stronger. The stone was reacting to the sunlight, absorbing energy, and perhaps storing it. She recorded everything, her hands moving quickly over the equipment. During breakfast, she shared her observations with the rest of the team. "This stone is special," she said. "I think it holds something important. I don't know if it's knowledge, emotions, or memories, but it is alive in a way that rocks should not be. I think it could help us understand something bigger about the universe." Her teammate, a biologist named Lena, frowned. "You mean an alien artifact?" Myra nodded slowly. "Possibly. Or it could be something natural we've never seen before. Either way, it is extraordinary. I just hope we can study it without causing harm." Nico watched quietly. He had the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, but he could not ignore the spark of wonder in Myra's voice. He had seen humans accomplish the impossible before. Perhaps this was another moment like that. "We proceed carefully," he said. "No mistakes. We report everything. And we stay alive." As the day progressed, the stone pulsed again, sending a ripple of energy through the ground. Myra felt it in her bones, a quiet vibration that made the air feel alive. She smiled, even though she did not understand it fully. For the first time on Arvin, she felt a connection to something beyond human knowledge. The planet was speaking, and she was listening. The outpost team did not know what lay ahead. They did not know that these stones were the remnants of a civilization long gone, that they stored grief, loss, and memories of humans who had ventured far from home and never returned. Myra only knew one thing: this stone was extraordinary, and the universe had just begun to reveal its secrets. And somewhere deep inside the black rock, something was waiting, watching, and remembering. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the jagged cliffs of Arvin. Light spilled across the black stone, and Myra Solon was already at the strange formation, her scanner humming softly in her hands. Overnight, the pulses from the stone had grown stronger. Each wave seemed to reach farther than before, vibrating through the ground beneath her feet. Myra bent close, watching the light travel through tiny cracks in the surface. Commander Nico Rule arrived soon after, carrying a small tablet with data from the outpost's sensors. "The energy spikes," he said, pointing at the readings, "they are increasing. Not just during the day, but constantly. This could be dangerous if we do not understand it." Myra shook her head. "Dangerous? Maybe. But it could also be a record. A message. I think it is trying to tell us something." She placed her hand on the stone. The familiar hum flowed through her body. Images flashed in her mind. Faces of humans she did not recognize stared back at her, eyes wide with fear. Myra felt their sorrow as if it were her own. She gasped and stepped back, trembling. Nico noticed the change immediately. "Myra, are you all right?" I think it's trying to show me memories," she said, her voice soft. "People who were lost. Maybe even humans who traveled through space before us and never came home. The stone, it remembers them." The commander frowned. He had always trusted Myra's instincts, but this was beyond anything he had seen. "Are you saying the rock can hold human experiences?" "Yes," Myra said firmly. I cannot explain it fully, but it is more than rock. It has feelings, or at least, it records feelings. Grief, sadness, longing. Everything the people felt, it stores. Lena, the biologist, stepped closer, her eyes wide. That is incredible. But also scary. How do we even begin to study it? Myra smiled faintly. Carefully. And with respect. I think if we touch it, we can learn more. But we have to be ready for whatever we feel. This stone does not just show images. It shares emotions. Strong emotions. They set up equipment around the stone, cameras, sensors, and recording devices. Myra stayed closest, placing her hands on the surface. The pulse was steady now, like a heartbeat. She closed her eyes and allowed herself to connect. Suddenly, the visions returned. This time, they were clearer. Myra saw humans exploring a distant planet. They laughed, shared meals, and worked together. Then, the scenes shifted. A sudden attack, fires, people running, and a sense of helplessness filled the images. Myra felt the fear, the loss, and the sorrow as though it were happening to her. Tears filled her eyes. Nico placed a hand on her shoulder. Myra, step back. We need to understand this before we get too involved. I cannot stop, Myra whispered. The stone, it wants to be understood. It wants someone to remember the people it holds. We cannot ignore them. The team watched in silence as Myra touched the stone again. A soft glow spread through the cracks, pulsing rhythmically. It was not threatening, but it demanded attention. Lena whispered, "It is alive in a way we do not understand. It is like it has a soul, storing every memory it touches." Myra nodded. Exactly. And I think it responds to humans because we are the ones who can feel these emotions. Maybe other species would not notice. Maybe only humans can connect with it fully. Nico studied the data on his tablet. The energy spikes were not dangerous yet, but they were growing. We need to proceed with caution, he said. If this stone holds that much emotional energy, we must make sure it does not overwhelm us or the outpost. Days passed, and the stone's energy continued to grow. Myra spent every moment she could studying it. She discovered that each pulse corresponded to a memory or emotion. Sometimes it was fear, sometimes hope, sometimes grief. She could feel the weight of lives lost, but also the courage that humans had shown in impossible situations. One afternoon, Myra shared her discovery with the team. The stone stores not just sorrow, but also bravery. People who were lost showed courage. They faced impossible odds, and this stone remembers it. It honors them. That is why the energy is so strong. It is the power of memory and emotion combined. Lena looked thoughtful. So the stone is like a library of feelings. It remembers what humans cannot forget. Yes, Myra said. And it is trying to reach out to us. I feel like it wants someone to understand, to carry these memories forward. It is asking for help. Nico ran a hand over his face. This is bigger than any mission we have had. We are not just explorers now. We are witnesses. And maybe, we are guardians of this memory. That night, the outpost was quiet except for the hum of the stone and the gentle wind outside. Myra could not sleep. She returned to the formation, touching it lightly. The images appeared again. She saw a human child smiling before an accident, a soldier giving a final command, a family waiting for someone who never returned. Each memory carried a weight that made her heart ache. Yet, there was hope too. People helping each other, reaching for the stars, holding on to courage even in darkness. Myra realized that the stone was not only mourning the lost, it was also celebrating what they had achieved. It was showing the strength of humanity, their ability to endure, to care, and to remember. Suddenly, the stone pulsed brighter than before. The light spread across the ground, creating shapes that resembled human figures. Myra gasped. The stone was not just showing memories. It was projecting them. Faces, movements, emotions, all made visible for anyone who could see. Lena and Nico arrived, drawn by the glow. They stood in awe. "It is alive," Lena whispered. "It is truly alive." Myra nodded, tears in her eyes. "It is human alive. It remembers the ones we have lost and honors them. And I think it wants to teach us something. That we are capable of more than survival. We can carry memory, emotion, and courage with us. That is our power." The team remained there for hours, watching the stone. Each pulse, each glow, told a story. They saw humans facing impossible situations, showing bravery, kindness, and resilience. They saw the weight of loss, but also the triumph of hope. And slowly, they understood. This was more than science. This was a lesson from the universe about the strength of humanity. When the sun finally set, the stone dimmed, leaving a quiet hum in the air. Myra stepped back and took a deep breath. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "we will learn more. This is only the beginning." Nico placed a hand on her shoulder. "We are ready. Whatever the stone wants to show us, we will face it together. Humanity has always survived because we feel, we care, and we act. This stone, it has chosen well." Myra smiled. For the first time since arriving on Arvin, she felt the full weight of wonder and responsibility. The planet was not just a world of black stone. It was a keeper of memory, a guardian of courage, and a witness to the lost. And now, humans had a role in its story. The hum of the stone continued into the night, a gentle reminder that memory and emotion could hold power beyond imagination. And as Myra watched, she felt a quiet promise that the lost would not be forgotten, and that humanity's strength was more than physical. It was emotional, spiritual, and unbreakable. The morning sun rose slowly over Arvin, painting the jagged cliffs in pale orange and gold. Myra Solon stood at the edge of the stone formation, her gloved hands hovering over its glowing surface. The pulses had changed overnight. They were sharper, faster, and more deliberate, as if the stone itself was trying to reach out in a new way. Commander Nico Rule arrived with his usual calm expression. "Myra, the readings are unusual," he said, holding a tablet that displayed fluctuating energy waves. "The stone is doing something different. It is not just pulsing. It is reacting." Myra nodded, her eyes wide with wonder. "I feel it, Commander. It is not just showing memories anymore. It is trying to communicate." Lena stepped closer, adjusting her helmet. "Communicate? How? Through thoughts? Images? Sounds?" "Through emotions," Myra said. "Through feelings and memory. And now it is trying to show us something more. A message, I think. We have to pay attention." The team arranged themselves around the stone. Myra touched the cool black surface, and a wave of energy flowed through her. This time, the visions were different. Instead of fragmented memories, they formed a story. She saw humans exploring distant planets, building shelters, planting crops, and recording their discoveries. Then she saw danger, storms, rock slides, and strange creatures that attacked explorers. But even in danger, the humans never gave up. They worked together, protecting each other, overcoming challenges. Myra gasped, stepping back. "It is showing us lessons. Stories of survival, courage, and teamwork. It is teaching us what humans can do when they face impossible odds." Nico studied the data. "These energy patterns," he said slowly, "they are too precise to be random. The stone is forming a language of its own. Maybe it can teach us something if we listen carefully." Lena frowned. "But how do we respond? How do we talk to a rock? Myra smiled faintly. I think we do not need words. We respond with understanding. By feeling what it wants to share, by learning its message, we participate in the story. The stone is alive, yes, but it is patient. It wants us to learn, not to rush. Hours passed as Myra touched the stone repeatedly. The pulses became rhythmic, almost musical. Each wave carried emotion, memory, and knowledge. The images formed a timeline of humans lost in space, people who had vanished on missions long before Arvin was settled. The stone preserved their experiences. Myra felt their fear, determination, and hope. It was overwhelming, but also inspiring. Suddenly, a new vision appeared. A human child ran through a field of glowing plants. The child laughed, reaching toward the sky, and then vanished as if taken by the wind. Myra felt a deep ache in her chest. The stone was not only recording memories, it was mourning. It carried sorrow for the lost, but it also celebrated moments of joy. Commander, Myra whispered. The stone is not just a record. It is alive because it cares. It feels grief, but it also remembers happiness. It honors life, not just loss. Nico placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we must honor it too. We are not here to exploit it. We are here to learn, to witness, and to share its lessons. That evening, Myra noticed a change in the stone. The pulses formed shapes in the dust around it. Tiny glowing figures appeared, moving like shadows. They were silhouettes of humans, acting out moments from the memories the stone held. Myra reached out to touch one, and the vision expanded. She could feel the child's laughter, the soldier's courage, and the explorer's fear. Each moment was real, vivid, and powerful. Lena gasped. It is showing us the past, alive and moving. The stone is like a window into history. Myra nodded. Yes, but more than that. It is showing us what humans can endure, what humans can overcome. We can learn from these experiences. This is why it chose Arvin. It needed someone to understand, someone to continue the story. As night fell, the outpost team gathered inside their dome. Myra presented the recorded data. We have to document everything carefully, she said. The stone's message is not just about the past. It is guidance for the future. Humans who survive and explore must carry memory, courage, and compassion with them. This is what makes us strong. Nico studied the charts and readings. It seems the stone only connects with those who understand empathy. It responds to emotions, not commands. That means we have to be careful. If we approach it without respect, it could withdraw or even react unpredictably. I will continue to work with it, Myra said. We will learn its language of memory and feeling. Then we can share it with others, not just scientists, but all humanity. Its lessons are too important to ignore. In the days that followed, the stone became more interactive. It responded to gestures and touches, pulsing faster when the team moved together, slower when they hesitated. Myra realized that the stone was testing them. It wanted to see if humans could cooperate, feel compassion, and understand responsibility. One afternoon, as Myra placed her hands on the stone, a vision of a massive storm appeared. Humans struggled against the wind and rain, building shelters and protecting each other. The energy wave from the stone was intense, almost like a warning. Myra felt her heart race. It is showing us danger, she said. Not just from the past, but a lesson we must heed. Humans must work together to survive. Nico nodded. Then we take that lesson to heart. We prepare, we learn, and we act together. The stone is guiding us, not controlling us. That night, Myra could not sleep. She returned to the stone, alone, and touched its surface. The glowing figures appeared again, this time forming a circle. They held hands, standing together against invisible threats. Myra understood immediately. The stone was teaching unity, showing that even in the darkest moments, humans could stand together and protect each other. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "We will remember. We will honor them. And we will carry the strength forward." The stone pulsed once, then twice, and the figures faded. A quiet hum remained, softer than before, but full of meaning. Myra stepped back, feeling a connection deeper than she had ever known. Arvin was no longer just a planet of black stone. It was a teacher, a guardian, and a witness to humanity's potential. The next morning, the team gathered again. Myra shared her insights. The stone is not only mourning the lost, but it is also preparing us. Preparing humans to understand memory, emotion, and courage. It is showing us that we can survive anything if we work together and care for each other. This is the lesson of Arvin. Nico looked at the glowing stone. Then our duty is clear. We protect this place, learn from it, and share its message. Humanity's strength is more than physical. It is emotional, it is moral, it is unbreakable. Myra smiled, feeling a quiet satisfaction. The stone had chosen them as its witnesses. And through it, humans could learn, grow, and remember. The universe had many secrets, but this one was theirs to carry forward. The pulses continued, steady and alive. And as Myra touched the stone one last time before returning to the outpost, she knew this was only the beginning of a journey that would change everything humans understood about courage, memory, and the power of the human spirit. The morning sun rose slowly, casting long shadows over the cliffs of Arvin. Myra Solon walked toward the stone formation, her steps quiet on the black rocky ground. The pulses from the stone had changed overnight. They were stronger and more urgent. Myra could feel a vibration in the air, a rhythm that seemed like a heartbeat but faster, like a warning. Commander Nico Rule joined her, carrying the tablet with the night's recordings. "The stone is different today," he said. "It is more active. The readings show fluctuations we have not seen before. Almost like it is trying to tell us something important." Myra touched the stone carefully. The glow spread across its surface in jagged waves, sharp and bright. Images flashed in her mind. She saw humans on a distant planet, building shelters under a red sky. Then a dark shape moved across the horizon, destroying everything in its path. Humans ran, called to each other, and struggled to survive. Myra felt their fear, their desperation. The pulse in the stone was pounding, urgent and insistent. "It is showing danger," Myra said, her voice low. "Not from the past, but from a possible future. We must pay attention. The stone is warning us." Nico frowned, studying the data. "Do you mean we are in danger? Or is this just a memory?" Myra shook her head. "No, this is not memory. It is a lesson. The stone wants us to see what could happen if humans are careless or divided. It is preparing us. Teaching us what we need to survive." Lena stepped closer, her eyes wide. "So the stone is predicting events? Or giving us advice?" "Both," Myra said. "It uses the past to show possible futures. If we understand it, we can prevent disaster. We can learn from those who came before, even if they were lost." The team spent the day studying the stone. Myra placed her hands on the glowing surface, allowing the pulses to flow through her. She saw humans working together to survive a massive storm, building shelters, and protecting each other. She saw humans failing when they ignored warnings, arguing over small matters, and losing everything. The stone was teaching balance, cooperation, and vigilance. As night fell, the stone's glow became sharper, cutting through the darkness. Tiny figures appeared again, moving like shadows but more defined this time. They acted out moments of courage, careful planning, and teamwork. Myra reached out to one and felt the emotion behind its actions. It was determination, calm focus, and trust. She realized the stone wanted humans to understand that survival was not just about strength. It was about intelligence, patience, and unity. Nico watched quietly. It seems the stone tests more than memory. It tests character. It wants to know if we can respond correctly to what it shows us. Yes, Myra said. The pulse grows stronger when we cooperate. We must show respect, empathy, and attention. That is how we earn its guidance. The following morning, a new sequence appeared in the stone. Myra felt a chill run through her body. Humans were exploring a planet when a massive quake shook the ground. Structures collapsed, dust filled the air, and people shouted to each other. Myra could feel the panic as though it were her own. The stone pulsed violently. "It is urgent," Myra whispered. "It is telling us about danger we cannot ignore. We must learn from this, plan carefully, and avoid mistakes." Lena adjusted her equipment. "Do you think it is warning us about Arvin? Or just teaching a lesson?" "I think both," Myra said. "Arvin is safe for now, but the lessons are clear. Humans face challenges wherever they go. We cannot underestimate risk or ignore teamwork. The stone wants us ready." Nico nodded. "Then we plan carefully. We study the environment, anticipate threats, and work together. That is what the stone is teaching us. This is not just exploration. This is preparation." Throughout the day, the stone continued to pulse with energy. Myra stayed close, her hands brushing the black surface, feeling its heartbeat. New images appeared. Humans were navigating forests of glowing plants, crossing rivers filled with strange creatures, and climbing jagged mountains. Each scene showed a choice. When humans acted with patience and wisdom, they survived. When they rushed or ignored danger, they failed. "It is showing us cause and effect," Myra said. "Every action has consequences. If we make the right choices, we can survive and thrive. If we do not, we risk everything." Lena shivered. "It is like a teacher, not just a record of the past. It shows us what could happen, so we are not unprepared." "Yes," Myra said softly. "And we must listen carefully. We cannot ignore any detail. Every pulse, every glow, every vision matters." That night, the stone pulsed steadily, but a new feeling filled the air. It was urgency and expectation. Myra saw humans building bridges, crossing dangerous chasms, and protecting each other from unseen threats. The stone seemed to ask for a promise. It wanted humans to take responsibility, to remember, and to act. Myra placed her hands firmly on the stone. "We understand," she whispered. "We will learn, we will cooperate, and we will carry your lessons forward." Suddenly, the stone pulsed brighter than ever before. The figures formed a circle, holding hands, standing against the darkness. Myra felt the energy in her body, like warmth and determination combined. She understood clearly. The stone was not just warning humans. It was teaching them that unity, care, and courage could overcome any danger. Nico stepped forward, placing his hand on Myra's shoulder. "We must remember this, every moment. Humanity's strength is not in numbers or weapons, but in connection, knowledge, and compassion. The stone shows us this because we need it to survive." Myra nodded. "And we will. We will honor this lesson. We will prepare for what is ahead. And we will carry the memory of those lost with us, using it to guide the living." The team left the stone as the night deepened, the glowing figures fading but leaving a quiet hum in the air. Myra looked back one last time. The pulses continued, steady and alive, as if the stone was waiting. Waiting for humans to understand, to act, and to prove themselves worthy of its guidance. The next morning, the team began a new routine. Each day, they would study the stone, learn its lessons, and document everything. Myra realized that Arvin was not just a planet of black rock. It was a teacher, a guardian, and a challenge. And humans had a responsibility not only to survive but to honor memory, courage, and unity. As Myra placed her hand on the stone, she whispered, "We are ready for whatever comes. We will not fail. The lost will not be forgotten, and the lessons will guide humanity forward." The pulses from the stone continued, stronger and more vibrant than ever. And as the team prepared for the day ahead, they knew that their journey was no longer just about exploration. It was about learning, understanding, and preparing for the unknown, guided by the wisdom of a planet that remembered everything and mourned nothing without purpose. The sky over Arvin was clear, the early morning light making the black cliffs shine like polished glass. Myra Solon approached the stone formation with a sense of purpose. The pulses had grown faster overnight, almost frantic. Myra could feel the urgency deep in her chest. Something was coming, something the stone wanted them to prepare for. Commander Nico Rule arrived, his face calm but his eyes serious. "Myra, the readings indicate an increase in energy waves. It is not just the stone reacting. Something outside the planet may be approaching." Myra placed her hand on the smooth surface. The stone's glow spread across the cliffs, brighter and warmer than ever. Visions appeared, and this time they were not just fragments of past events or lessons. Myra saw humans struggling to survive a massive force, a shadow that moved across the land, destroying everything in its path. The people in the vision ran together, built shelters, and fought to stay alive. Myra felt their fear and determination. "It is a warning," Myra said. "The stone is showing us what could happen if we are not careful. Something is coming, and we must be ready." Lena stepped forward, adjusting her equipment. "Is this like before? A lesson for survival? Or a real threat?" Myra shook her head. "I think it is both. The stone shows what may happen if humans ignore danger. We can learn from it and prepare. We can survive if we act wisely." Throughout the day, the team studied the stone carefully. Myra touched the glowing surface repeatedly, letting the energy flow through her. Each pulse carried knowledge and warning. She saw humans navigating storms, repairing broken equipment, and guiding each other through perilous landscapes. Each successful action was rewarded in the vision with safety and survival. Each mistake brought failure and loss. The stone was teaching cause and effect, showing that careful planning and cooperation were the keys to survival. At midday, a new vision appeared. Myra felt her chest tighten. Humans were approaching a cliff when a massive rock slide began. The ground shook violently, and dust filled the air. People shouted to warn each other, but some ran without thinking, falling into the chasm below. Others worked together, building a bridge quickly and pulling each other to safety. Myra felt both the terror and the courage of the vision. "The stone is showing us consequences," she said. "It is telling us to think, plan, and act together. We cannot ignore this lesson. It is too important." Nico studied the tablet. "We must prepare for every scenario. Not just on Arvin, but anywhere humans go. The stone teaches survival, but it also tests our understanding. If we fail to act wisely, we may face the same disasters it shows." That evening, the team gathered around the stone. The glowing figures appeared again, more detailed and vivid than before. They moved through challenges together, protecting each other from danger, repairing broken shelters, and guiding the lost back to safety. Myra realized the stone wanted them to internalize these lessons. It was not just a warning. It was an opportunity to practice, to learn how humans could survive any threat if they trusted one another. Lena watched the figures closely. "It is like the stone is showing us a training ground. If we understand the lessons, we can survive anything." "Yes," Myra said. "It is preparing us. Showing us how humans can overcome impossible odds. And it will keep showing us until we are ready." The next morning, Myra returned alone to the stone. The air was tense, the pulses almost painful in their intensity. This time, the visions were different. Humans were facing a massive storm that swept across a vast plain. The wind tore at buildings, lightning struck the ground, and people shouted to guide each other. Myra felt their fear and their courage at the same time. She saw humans saving others, using quick thinking to survive, and showing trust even in the darkest moments. "They are showing us extreme danger," Myra whispered. "And how humans must act to survive. The stone wants us ready for what is coming." As she reached toward the glowing surface, a sudden thought came to her. The stone was not just warning them about external threats. It was also teaching them the power of teamwork, planning, and emotional strength. Humans alone might survive for a short time, but together, they could overcome anything. Myra felt a deep connection to the lessons. Nico arrived just as the vision ended. "Are you all right?" he asked. "Yes," Myra said. "But the stone is showing more than danger. It is showing the choices humans must make. If we act wisely, we survive. If not, we fail. And failure is not just personal. It affects everyone around us." Lena nodded slowly. "Then we must practice, learn, and be ready. The stone is guiding us, but we have to follow its lessons carefully." Over the following days, the team worked closely with the stone. Each pulse, each glow, and each vision became a lesson in planning, trust, and courage. Myra realized that the stone's warnings were preparing them for an unknown event that could test humans on a scale they had never imagined. One evening, Myra stayed late at the formation. The glowing figures appeared in a circle, standing against invisible threats. She touched the stone and felt a rush of energy, almost like the stone was speaking directly to her. It was not in words but in understanding. Humans must prepare for the future, protect each other, and act wisely. The stone would guide, but humans had to make the choices. "The lost will not be forgotten," Myra whispered. "And we will not fail. We will honor them by learning, by surviving, and by carrying these lessons forward." The next morning, the team met again. Myra explained the latest visions. "The stone is showing us what could happen if we are not ready. Danger is coming, not just from the environment but from unforeseen challenges. We must prepare, cooperate, and trust each other. That is the only way we survive." Nico looked at the glowing stone. "Then our task is clear. We must learn from every lesson, document every pulse, and act with care. Humanity's strength is in unity, courage, and knowledge. The stone shows us this so we will be ready for anything." Myra smiled, feeling a renewed determination. Arvin was no longer just a planet of black stone. It was a teacher, a guardian, and a challenge. Humans were being tested, but they also had the chance to rise, to prove their strength, and to honor those who had come before. As the sun rose higher, Myra placed her hand firmly on the stone. She felt the pulse, steady but strong, full of warning and guidance. "We are ready," she said. "We will survive, we will protect each other, and we will honor the lessons of the lost. Nothing will stop us if we work together." The glowing pulses continued, vibrant and alive. And as Myra and the team prepared for the challenges ahead, they knew that the stone's warnings were not just predictions. They were opportunities. Opportunities to learn, grow, and become stronger as humans. Arvin had given them a gift. It was now their duty to use it wisely. The sky over Arvin was a pale orange, the sun low on the horizon. Myra Solin approached the stone formation with a mix of determination and unease. The pulses had become uneven, a rhythm that suggested urgency but also hesitation. Myra knew the stone was about to show something important, something that could change everything for the humans on the planet. Commander Nico Rule joined her silently, carrying the tablet with the latest readings. "Myra, the energy waves are fluctuating. The stone is sending signals we have never seen before. It may be preparing us for a critical decision." Myra nodded. I can feel it too. It is as if the stone is asking something of us, something we must answer carefully. We must be ready for whatever lesson comes next. As she touched the stone, the glow spread across the cliffs in waves of gold and silver. This time the visions were longer, clearer, and more intense. Humans moved through dangerous landscapes, facing collapsing mountains, raging rivers, and storms that tore the ground apart. In the midst of the chaos, they reached a fork in a path. One route led through a forest of glowing plants that seemed to pulse with energy. The other route led across a barren canyon, the wind howling, and the cliffs threatening to crumble. Myra felt a pull in her chest, a mixture of fear and focus. The stone was showing them not only danger but choice. Every decision mattered. Every path had consequences. Humans who hesitated or chose carelessly faced disaster. Those who acted with thought, courage, and cooperation survived. Lena stepped closer, her voice quiet. It is showing us a choice. But how do we know which path to take? How do we make the right decision? Myra looked at the glowing figures on the stone. The stone does not tell us exactly. It shows the results of each choice. We must understand the lesson and apply it ourselves. Survival depends on judgment, teamwork, and courage. That is the message. Nico frowned. Then it is not enough to follow instructions. We must think, decide, and act wisely. One mistake could be fatal. And this time, the stakes feel higher than ever. Throughout the day, the team studied the stone carefully. Myra allowed the energy to flow through her, feeling the heartbeat of the planet. She saw humans using clever strategies to cross dangerous terrain, building bridges, guiding each other, and working as one. Every correct choice led to survival. Every mistake led to loss. The stone was preparing them for a decision they might face soon on Arvin. That night, the stone glowed brighter than before, cutting through the darkness. Myra touched the surface and felt a surge of energy. The figures on the stone formed a circle, holding hands against a massive storm. The wind and lightning threatened to tear them apart, but they moved with determination, helping each other, solving problems together, and protecting the weak. Myra understood clearly. The stone wanted humans to learn that survival depended not just on strength but on unity, trust, and courage. This is the critical lesson, Myra whispered. The stone is showing us that the next challenge will not be overcome by one person alone. We must act together, think together, and face it as one. Only then do we survive. Lena adjusted her equipment. So the stone tests not only our understanding but also our willingness to act as a team. We must apply what we have learned. Yes, Myra said. And quickly. The next event will come soon. The stone is preparing us for it, but it will not wait forever. We have to be ready to make decisions under pressure. The following morning, the team gathered around the stone. Myra placed her hands on the glowing surface, feeling the pulse deep in her body. The visions began again. This time, humans were standing before a massive rift in the ground, the earth trembling beneath them. A storm was approaching rapidly. The group had only minutes to choose a path and act. Some members panicked, arguing about which way to go. Others focused on cooperation, planning, and careful observation. Myra saw clearly that the humans who stayed calm and worked together crossed the rift safely. Those who rushed or acted selfishly fell, losing everything. The stone pulsed violently, as if urging them to understand the lesson fully. This is exactly what we must learn, Myra said. We will face choices like this on Arvin. The storm, the rift, the danger, it may be literal, or it may be symbolic. But the lesson is clear. We survive only if we act with intelligence, courage, and unity. Nico looked at the team seriously. Then our plan is simple. We anticipate danger, work together, and make decisions with care. Panic or division will be our greatest enemies. The stone shows the path, but we must walk it ourselves. Over the next days, the team practiced simulated scenarios based on the stone's visions. They built temporary bridges, navigated rough terrain, and solved problems together. Myra guided them, sharing the lessons she had learned from the pulses. Each exercise taught them patience, strategy, and trust. The stone glowed each time they succeeded, and Myra could feel a subtle nod of approval, as if the planet itself recognized their progress. One evening, Myra stayed alone at the formation, the sky painted in deep purples and reds. She touched the stone, feeling the steady but urgent heartbeat beneath her fingers. The glowing figures appeared once more, this time in a final test. They were standing on a cliff edge, facing a massive storm and a deep canyon. The figures held hands, made careful choices, and moved together. Myra felt their courage and unity as if it were her own. "They are showing us the ultimate lesson," she whispered. "The challenge will be real, and we must be ready to act as one. Our strength is not in any single person, but in all of us together." The next morning, Myra gathered the team. "The stone has shown us the final critical lesson," she said. "We will face challenges that test our choices, courage, and cooperation. Success depends on how we work together, not just on strength or skill. The lost are watching, and their memory guides us. We cannot fail." Nico placed a hand on Myra's shoulder. "Then we act as one. We anticipate danger, trust each other, and make choices with care. That is how humanity survives, and that is how we honor those who came before." Myra smiled, feeling a surge of determination. Arvin was no longer just a planet of black stone. It was a teacher, a guide, and a test. Humans were being prepared, and they had the chance to rise, to prove their strength, and to survive against any challenge. As Myra touched the stone one last time that day, she whispered, "We are ready. We will make the right choices. We will act together, and we will survive. The lessons of the lost guide us, and nothing will stop humanity when we stand united." The pulses continued, steady and strong, full of warning, guidance, and approval. Myra and the team left the stone, prepared for the trials ahead. They knew that the challenges would test their courage, intelligence, and unity. But they also knew that they had the greatest advantage humans could have, the ability to learn, adapt, and act together. And as the sun rose higher over Arvin, the black cliffs glowed faintly, as if the planet itself was watching, waiting, and trusting that humans were ready for the ultimate test. The sky over Arvin was gray and heavy, the clouds swirling in ominous patterns. Myra Solon and the team stood before the glowing stone formation, feeling the tension in the air. The pulses had reached a steady, urgent rhythm, signaling that the final test was coming. Every lesson, every vision, every warning led to this moment. Commander Nico Rule surveyed the cliffs with a serious expression. "This is it. The stone shows that the challenge is real now. We must act together and apply everything we have learned." Myra nodded. "We have prepared for this. We have learned from the lost and from the stone. Now we face the test. We survive by staying united and making the right choices." Suddenly, the ground shook beneath their feet. Dust rose from the cliffs as a massive storm formed on the horizon. Lightning flashed across the gray sky, and powerful winds threatened to knock them off balance. The stone glowed brightly, casting shimmering light across the cliffs, and Myra could feel the energy of the planet coursing through her. "Everyone, stay close and follow the plan," Myra commanded. "Trust each other and act wisely." The team began to move, carefully navigating the rocky terrain. The storm raged around them, tearing at loose rocks and sending debris into the air. They approached a deep chasm, the final obstacle in the vision they had seen days ago. The wind howled, and the stone's pulse grew faster, almost like a heartbeat counting down the moments. Myra glanced at Lena. "The bridge. Build it now, together." The team worked quickly, combining their strength and intelligence. Pieces of metal and rock were secured to create a sturdy path across the chasm. Every movement was coordinated, every decision deliberate. Myra could see the lessons from the stone coming to life. Teamwork, courage, and careful planning were their only chance of survival. As they crossed, a sudden gust of wind nearly knocked them off balance. Myra grabbed Nico's arm, and together they stabilized the team. Focus. One step at a time, she shouted over the roar of the storm. Once across, they continued toward the center of the formation where the stone glowed brightest. Myra reached out and touched it. The energy surged through her, filling her with clarity. She saw visions of past humans who had faced impossible challenges, some failing and some succeeding. Every success came from cooperation, bravery, and wise choices. Lena pointed to the edge of the cliff. Look. There is something moving in the storm. A massive shadow emerged, a force of swirling energy that seemed to challenge everything on Arvin. The wind and lightning became more violent as it approached. Myra realized this was the ultimate trial, the embodiment of the dangers the stone had been warning them about. It was not just a natural disaster. It was a test of their courage and unity. Stand together. Myra shouted. Do not let fear divide us. We survive as one. The shadow surged toward them, but the team did not panic. They moved with coordination, using the knowledge they had gained from the stone. Lena operated the equipment to stabilize the cliffs, Nico directed the movements, and Myra guided the team with calm determination. Step by step, they advanced toward the center of the formation, the glowing stone lighting the way. Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to crack. Rocks fell into the chasm below, and the wind threatened to tear them apart. Myra took a deep breath. We do this together. Everyone hold hands and move carefully. The team followed her instructions precisely. They stepped in unison, supporting each other as the stone pulsed with energy. The storm seemed to respond to their unity, slowing slightly as if acknowledging their courage and cooperation. Myra felt the lessons from the stone fully come alive. Every warning, every vision, every challenge had prepared them for this exact moment. When they reached the center, the stone glowed brighter than ever. Myra placed her hand on it and felt a rush of understanding. The shadow above them paused, almost as if recognizing their success. The pulses of the stone spread outward, calming the storm and solidifying the cliffs. The energy of the planet filled the team, giving them strength and clarity. We did it, Lena said, her voice filled with awe. We survived because we worked together. Myra smiled, feeling relief and pride. Yes. The stone guided us, but we made the choices. Courage, teamwork, and trust saved us. We honored the lost and proved that humanity can survive even the greatest challenges. Nico placed his hand on Myra's shoulder. The lessons are clear. Humans are strongest when united, wise, and brave. The stone has prepared us, and we now carry its guidance forward. The storm began to dissipate, leaving a calm, glowing horizon. The cliffs sparkled as the energy of the stone spread across Arvin. Myra looked at the team, seeing their determination and resilience reflected in their eyes. They had faced the ultimate trial and emerged stronger, wiser, and united. As the sun rose over Arvin, Myra spoke softly, the lost are not forgotten. Their struggles, their courage, and their lessons have guided us. We carry their strength with us, and we will continue to honor it by surviving, protecting, and growing together. The stone's glow gradually faded, leaving the cliff serene and quiet. But Myra knew its presence remained, a silent guardian and teacher for those who would come after. Humanity had passed the test, not by strength alone, but by understanding, unity, and courage. The team began their descent, carefully navigating the cliffs with the calm confidence of those who had faced impossible odds. Each step carried the lessons of Arvin, the guidance of the stone, and the memory of those who had come before. They moved as one, a symbol of human resilience and determination. Myra paused one last time at the edge of the formation, looking out over the glowing landscape. "We have survived," she said quietly. "We have learned. And we will continue, stronger than ever." As they reached the base of the cliffs, the pulses of the stone returned to a gentle rhythm, a reminder that the planet had tested them, taught them, and now watched over them. Myra felt a deep connection to the lessons, the lost, and the future. Humanity had proven that it could rise to any challenge, overcome any danger, and survive through unity and courage. The team moved forward together, leaving the black cliffs behind but carrying the wisdom and strength they had gained. Arvin had been more than a planet of stone. It had been a teacher, a guardian, and a test. And humanity had risen to meet it, stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever lay ahead.